In our headlines on this Thursday afternoon, August 10th, here in South Korea. Typhoon Khanun makes its presence felt in the southern parts of the country with both strong winds and heavy rain as more than 10,000 people have been evacuated amid fears of flash floods and landslides. And reports of rain-related repercussions have been rampant in the southern regions with flash floods, toppling trees and even power outages in a number of places. Meanwhile, across the border in North Korea, Jong-un fires his top military general and orders active preparations for possible war by bolstering arms production and expanding combat training. We start with the latest on Typhoon Khanun here in Korea that has been making landfall. My colleague Song Yoo-jin is standing by with a live update. Yoo-jin, where are you joining us from?
Well, Sunny, I'm currently on the east coast in Samcheok city in Gangwon-do province.
Right, Yoo-jin, I hear the heavy rain has been pounding that particular region.
You're absolutely right, Sunny. So heavy rain has been pouring as well as strong winds since early morning here in Samcheok City. And starting yesterday to today noon, more than 310 millimeters of heavy downpours have been battering the city alone. But as you can see, we're bracing for even more as rains of between 30 and 60 millimeters per hour is currently pounding this area as well. So the nation's weather agency forecasts that up to a whopping 600 millimeters of rain could pound this Samcheok City as well as the eastern parts of the Gangwon-do province by Friday, which is the heaviest rain record currently in the country. Now, with all this relentless rain, I can say that there's really no point in wearing a raincoat or carrying an umbrella. Trees and street lights here are wobbling because of heavy rain. Most stores nearby have closed. The Samcheok City government has also issued a landslide warning, a citywide one, as of 1 p.m. today. Now, this is all because after Typhoon Khanun made its expected landfall in the country this morning. So according to the Korea Meteorological Administration, Typhoon Khanun made landfall near the city of Gov't, Gyeongsang-namdo province at around 9:20 a.m. today. And after reaching the Korean peninsula, it is currently moving slowly upwards and will cut its way through the country. So the entire nation is expected to be under the typhoon's influence by tonight. And not only heavy rain, but gusts are also in the forecast up to 35 meters per second, which is strong enough to bring down trees as well as derail trains.
Right, derailing trains, which is why, of course, authorities here have been calling on members of the public to refrain from venturing outdoors if possible. Meanwhile, Yoo-jin, do tell us a bit about the precautions in place.
Yes, well, typhoon alerts have been issued nationwide as of today morning, and I can say that the entire nation is on high alert as we're expecting more heavy rain as well as stronger winds after the typhoon has made its landfall, and especially because last year the devastating typhoon Khanun took away the lives of 11 people. So thankfully, latest data from the Interior Ministry as of 11 a.m. today shows that no casualties from Typhoon Khanun have been reported yet. But for the sake of safety, more than 10,600 people have evacuated for their homes for safety, as well as more than 350 flights nationwide being canceled today. But it's not just the skies that are being affected. Roads, sea routes, as well as hiking trails have been closed off starting yesterday. And with safety as the utmost priority, kindergartens and schools in affected areas are also taking precautionary measures, such as having closed down for the day, having shortened school hours, and switching to online classes. And the nation's Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters, during its meeting this morning, ordered heads of local disaster headquarters to stand by around the clock until the typhoon passes a country, and it also stressed that those who are living in flood or landslide-prone areas should be able to evacuate immediately in case of emergency. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Yoo-jin, thank you for the latest, and do keep us posted throughout the day. Right now, reports of rain-related repercussions have been rampant, and for more on this reality, I have our Kim Jong-sil joining me live on the line. Jong-sil, what is the latest at your end?
Well, Sunny, I can tell you that no human casualties have been reported so far. But just this morning, hundreds of reports to local fire stations were made in South Korea's southern Gyeongsang-namdo province. In Gov't City, for example, there were reports of damages to parked cars outside. As you can see, bricks fell down from an apartment buildings at 6:19 a.m., but luckily no one was hurt. There have been multiple reports of trees falling on the side of the roads as well, blocking traffic throughout the southern region. In Changwon City, north of Gov't, multiple drainage problems were reported where water overflowed from the sewers. Also in Changwon, at 8:05 a.m., a local bus was waiting for the light to change when a manhole cover burst through the bottom of the bus. There was 5 to 6 people, including the driver, inside, and luckily, no one was hurt. A tire puncture was also reported on another city bus in Changwon as well, also possibly due to a manhole cover that was dislodged due to flooding. You're looking at a giant rock that fell in Ulsan, that's 3 to 4 meters in size, that fell from the mountain blocking the traffic. South Korean officials have warned since this morning that the heavy rain has raised the risk of landslides. Busan, on the other hand, also experienced issues from the typhoon this morning. The city had 90 emergency calls made as of Thursday 8 a.m. Blackouts in Busan-gu district were reported just after 4 a.m. today. The blackouts lasted for 5 minutes and power has been restored now. Korea Electric Power Corporation officials said they suspect a tree fell on the power line due to strong wind. Also, due to strong wind, a taxi stop near Busan's Seomyeon subway station was partly blown over. The wind in Busan is so strong that the entire city is experiencing objects dangerously shaking as well. These include traffic lights, neon signs, and construction objects, so caution is necessary when outdoors. Now, experts said since Khanun is moving unusually slowly, its influence may stay inland for a longer period of time. So officials advise people to stay indoors and safe. Officials also said it's vital to check the latest information online, on TV, and on radio, and stay in contact with family members and neighbors. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Sunny.
I see. All right, Jung-sha, thank you for that coverage. That was our Kim Jung-sha reporting live from the news center. Let's now turn to our weather center for more on the national forecast amid the presence of Typhoon Khanun. As always, I have our Lee Ji-hyun standing by live. So, Ji-hyun, what can you tell us about the path of this typhoon?
Well, Sunny, first of all, this is the first typhoon to pass through the inland Korean peninsula ever since the weather observations began in 1951. So the whole country is on high alert. After the typhoon made landfall on Gov't Island off the southeast coast this morning, it traveled through Gyeongsang-do province and is now heading towards Chungcheongbuk-do province. It should get close to Daejeon by 4 p.m. and Seoul by 10 p.m. tonight. Then it will continue to move northwards to the east of Gyeonggi-do and hit North Korea tomorrow at dawn. The whole country will be drenched by heavy showers, but east of Gangwon-do province will be hit the hardest, getting 100 millimeters an hour of rain with up to 500 millimeters in the forecast until Saturday. The rest of the country will be getting up to 300 millimeters. Now, the typhoon warnings are in place in southern and some of central parts of the country. Then an advisory in the capital area will be upgraded to a warning later in the day as the typhoon gets close to the capital region. That's all for now, but I will be back with more at the end of the newscast.
All right, Jian, thank you for the update for now and see you later in a bit then. And President Yoon Suk-yeol has called for a comprehensive response to typhoon-related repercussions with priority on public safety. According to presidential spokesperson Lee Do-eun, President Yoon has urged all relevant authorities to mobilize all available resources to counter casualties. Close cooperation across agencies has also been stressed to effectively respond to all challenges ahead. Meanwhile, Typhoon Khanun is keeping indoors today all planned activities for scouts of the 25th Jamboree who have been relocated to different corners of the country. Our Ishihu reports.
South Korea has strengthened preventative measures to ensure the safety of participants of the 25th World Scout Jamboree as the Korean peninsula comes under the influence of Typhoon Khanun. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo called for utmost efforts in ensuring the safety of the tens of thousands of Scout members. For their safety, the Scouts are only doing indoor activities on Thursday.
I asked the regional administration for their cooperation in running indoor activities and to put their best efforts to prevent safety incidents during Scout members' travels to indoor sites.
The nation's Interior Ministry is scaling up preventive patrols to spot potential hazards such as flooding, landslides, and rockfalls near accommodation sites for participants that are spread around the country. If the accommodation is likely to be directly impacted by the typhoon, the government will share real-time disaster information with the World Organization of Scout Movements. It will also inform the Scout members of the weather situation and give them emergency instructions. All Scouts had left the Saemangeum campsite by Tuesday evening and were placed in accommodation across the country. Since Wednesday, the Scouts have been engaging in activities prepared by regional administrations. The activities include watching and taking part in a dance performance by the Han River, a visit to Hwasong Fortress, a World Heritage Site in Gyeonggi-do Province, and playing Korean traditional farm music, or Pungmulnori, in Jeollabuk-do Province. Meanwhile, the government has deployed 130 officials to provide safety and medical support at the accommodation sites and 180 officials to offer translation services. The police and fire agencies are also on standby to ensure safety during activities. Lee Si-hu, Arirang News.
And in related news, in the city of Paju, members of the Spanish Scout team sought to share their sentiments of the global event thus far, and my colleague Choi Soo-young was there to listen in.
The 25th Saemangeum World Scout Jamboree has entered a new phase. Following their early departure from the Saemangeum campsite on Tuesday, Scouts have been enjoying experiences all over the country. On Wednesday, a team of 123 people from Spain visited the National Folk Museum of Korea in Paju, Gyeonggi-do Province, as part of their revised Jamboree program. Most of the Spanish Scouts mentioned that, although they were quite tired, taking part in various activities was better than simply staying in hotels and doing nothing.
I'm sad because I can't go with other countries, and that was the point of the Jamboree. But you know, we're happy because we're doing other activities. Here is just one choice, but it's okay. It's so nice that they could give us the choice to still doing activities and not just stay in the hotels doing nothing.
One of the team members mentioned that a small night concert with other countries during the first week was his most memorable moment.
I think that the first week it was a nice experience. My favorite experience was at night that they make like a little concert, and we go with people of other parts of the world, and we start like dancing different songs. We could ask the DJ to play different songs, and we learn like other culture songs.
Despite the long journey to their new accommodation from the Saemangeum campsite, they expressed their gratitude to Korea for its hospitality.
I really liked seeing the big signs with the Korean letters in the streets, like on the buildings and stuff. I didn't expect them to be that nice, but you're also really nice people. You're always there to help us, so I had a good time at Seoul.
The team later said that while it's true the Saemangeum campsite was hot and many issues arose all at once, they viewed the Jamboree from a different perspective.
Everything that I saw like in the press was very different as what I was seeing inside. People got used to it. We were doing the normal activities and everything. When we spoke with other leaders inside the Jamboree, they also had different realities, and they also didn't experience as many problems as we were seeing in newspapers or in TV.
The Scouts will continue their experiences nationwide until the end of the Jamboree on Saturday. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News, Paju.
Foreign Minister Park Jin and his U.S. counterpart Antony Blinken have agreed to cooperate closely for the summit among the leaders of Seoul, Tokyo and Washington at Camp David on August 18th. According to the Foreign Ministry here, Park and Blinken spoke over the phone on Wednesday and also agreed that the upcoming trilateral talks are a historic turning point for all countries involved. Hopes are high for active trilateral collaboration on security amid North Korea's hostilities and on economic initiatives as well as cultural interactions. And speaking about North Korea, there has been a fresh round of hostile rhetoric from Kim Jong-un, who has reportedly call for tangible preparations for the possibility of war. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called on his regime to prepare for a possible war in an offensive manner. According to North Korea's Korean Central News Agency on Thursday, the statement was made at an enlarged meeting of the Central Military Commission of the ruling Workers' Party of Korea on Wednesday. During the meeting, Kim stressed the importance of a strong army to carry out the party's Central Committee's military strategy, while also calling on the regime to secure more powerful strike means for carrying out the mission of war deterrence and intensifying the work for deploying them in the units for action in a mobile way. During the meeting, Kim also replaced his top general Park Soo-il with Lee Young-gil, who was previously appointed as a vice chairman of the Central Military Commission in January 2023. The KCNA also mentioned other items discussed at the meeting. They include talks on a military parade on September 9th to mark the regime's 75th founding anniversary, also known as the Day of the Foundation of the Republic. It could also mark an opportunity for Kim Jong-un to showcase the North's military weapons amid the growing tensions on the Korean peninsula. Wednesday's meeting came as South Korea and the United States plan to hold their annual Urchi Freedom Shield exercise later this month. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, for the first time in 6 years, China is permitting group tours to South Korea. Beijing's Culture Ministry has reinstated 78 more countries to its list of overseas group tour destinations, with the US and Japan also included. For South Korea, China had banned group tours since the year 2017 as part of its retaliation against Seoul's deployment of the US's THAAD missile defense system. Since January this year, China has been gradually lifting its COVID-19 restrictions on overseas group tours, with the latest edition of countries indicating a complete resumption. Korea's economy is expected to expand 1.5% this year. This is according to the Korea Development Institute, which has maintained its outlook on this Thursday. The institute has also kept steady its economic growth outlook for next year at 2.3%. The steady projections are being linked with signs of recovery in exports of cars and chips. Meanwhile, with regard to inflation, the agency revised upward its forecast for the year to 3.5% from 3.4% on the back of higher oil prices. And the government is earmarking an additional amount of some $17 billion to boost Korea's exports. This follows trilateral talks on this Thursday among the government, the ruling People Power Party, and the private sector. This latest sum is on top of the $32 billion earlier pledge for the export sector, and much of the new funds will seek to support strategic exports, with the remaining to search for new industries. Also, private banks here have agreed to come up with $3.5 billion worth of financial products to help local businesses targeting overseas markets. Employment among those in their 20s marked an annual decline in July. According to Statistics Korea, the employment rate for this age group, that is, posted an on-year fall of 0.1 percentage point to 61.4% last month. Employment among those in their 20s had been expanding by 3 to 4 percentage points from the end of 2021 before showing a tangible slowdown earlier this year and then a decline in July. Fewer jobs in the wholesale and warehouse sectors and the base effect from last year are also said to have weighed on the latest finding.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In Hawaii, at least 6 people died in wildfires on the island of Maui on Wednesday. The death toll is expected to rise as search and rescue operations continue. According to officials, hundreds of people lost their homes and thousands more have been forced to evacuate as fires raged on Maui and neighboring Big Island. The U.S. Coast Guard also rescued 12 people who jumped into the sea to avoid flames that destroyed much of the town of Lahaina. Thousands in Hawaii are without power and mobile phone service due to infrastructure damage. The cause of the wildfires is still unknown. but they broke out amid prolonged dry conditions and were fanned by winds from Hurricane Dora. In Russia, at least one person has been killed and at least 60 wounded on Wednesday in a massive blast at a Russian military optics plant less than 80 kilometers from Moscow. Rescue teams are searching through the rubble over concerns some may still be trapped. The explosion at the Zagorsk optical and mechanical plant reportedly originated from a pyrotechnics warehouse on site that was rented by a third company. The plant is responsible for manufacturing optical devices such as night vision equipment and binoculars for the Russian military. The cause of the explosion is still unclear, and a criminal investigation has been opened. Coup leaders in Niger on Wednesday accused France of breaching a ban on its airspace put in place on Sunday. The regime claims that a French aircraft took off from neighboring Chad and then crossed over into Niger. It then allegedly cut off all contact with local air traffic control. The military takeover leaders also accused France of freeing 16 captured extremists who allegedly planned to attack Nigerian military positions along its border. France has rejected both accusations. It said that the flight was authorized by and coordinated with Niger's armed forces, and that no extremists have been freed. France has 1,500 troops in the country to combat extremists. And finally, representatives from 8 Amazon countries, including Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador, wrapped up a 2-day Amazon summit in the Brazilian city of Belém on Tuesday. It was the first such summit of the Amazon Cooperation Treaty Organization in 14 years. Despite agreeing on a list of unified environmental measures to bolster regional cooperation, they failed to reach a consensus on a deforestation pact proposed by Brazilian President Lula da Silva. He had sought to end deforestation by 2030. Instead, the summit concluded with a promised alliance to fight forest destruction, but that members would be free to tackle deforestation goals individually. Climate activists have said the deal falls short at a time when the world is seeing record temperatures. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. After Typhoon Khanun made landfall on Gov't Island off the southeast coast this morning, it traveled through Gyeongsang-do province and already passed Daegu around 1 p.m. And it's now heading towards Chungcheongbuk-do province. It should get close to Daejeon by 4 p.m. and to Seoul by 10 p.m. tonight. Then it will continue to move northwards to east of Gyeonggi-do and hit North Korea tomorrow at dawn. Khanun is bringing both powerful wind and torrential rain to the country. Rain is pounding down in most parts of the country and will pick up as the day goes on today. East of Gangwon-do province is forecast to see 100 millimeters an hour of rain with up to 500 millimeters in the forecast. The rest of the country could see up to 300 millimeters of massive rainfall. Winds are picking up as well, blowing at between 50 and 125 kilometers per hour across the Korean peninsula. And of course, southeast coast regions will have stronger winds. Please stay inside. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Right, and that ends our Thursday afternoon newscast. For those of you here in the country, do take care against the typhoon. And to the rest of our viewers, do stay tuned for our panel session coming up next.